Hello everybody, welcome to your first lecture. I hope you guys are super excited and that there's minimal bloopers because I'm not very good at editing. So our first lecture today, first lecture for I believe Monday, I'm not sure. So the first lecture is going to be 1.1 Characteristics of Living Things. So let's start. Before we start the lecture, let's go into our sample notes. So remember at the top of your page, I want the title of whatever we're learning. And so for today, it's going to be characteristics of living things. And underneath is your objective, because we want to know what we'll be able to do at the end of the day. So as we go through our slides, here, let's just look on the left side of my screen at my PowerPoint. You're going to see like slide titles, not so much the characteristics, but like the 8 characteristics of life, made of more than one cell, display organization. So those should really be my titles of slides as opposed to just this characteristics of living things. Sorry, my screen is wonky. So again, the first title slide is going to go here and like those like a little bit bigger. It's like what is the biology, and then underneath that it says biology is study of living things. And just want you to know all vocabulary should either be bolded or highlighted, because on your exams there will be a kind of like a matching column section just of vocabulary. Okay, so let's begin the lecture. Let's go back to our title slide and we'll go to present. Okay. So what does it mean to be alive? So we're going to start with the characteristics of living things. So I already showed you the sample notes. Sorry, don't mind my Skype. So our objective today is for you guys. The objective is to identify characteristics of living things, or of living organisms, by providing textual evidence to support whether various organisms are living or non-living. We'll be doing that activity on Tuesday, not Monday. So what is biology? So biology is actually the study of life or living things. So if biology is the study of living things, like what does it mean to be living? What things are we classifying as living? Because I'm like, I don't want biology. I'm like, I really don't feel like studying rocks. I don't want to study my desk. So there are actually 8 characteristics, depending on the text you read, like 8 to 7, but I just went the extra mile and put 8. So the 8 characteristics are: 1, all things are made of cells. Cells are the basic unit of life. Every living thing must be made of cells. If it doesn't contain a cell, it is not living. Next, display organization. 3, growth and development. 4, reproduction, its ability to be reproduced. 5, all living things respond to stimuli. 6, all things require energy. And we're going to go back to our notes. Actually, this is going to be posted on our site. It's going to say requires energy, and in parentheses, metabolism. So we'll go into further depth about that. Our next is maintain homeostasis. 8 is adaptation, evolve over time. So the first characteristics, made of one or more cells. All living things are made up of at least one or multiple cells. Right? Cells are the basic unit and structure basic unit and structure, basic structure and function in all living things. Sorry guys, I'll try to make this as quick and less bloopers because I cannot edit. So anyway, cells, they can either be unicellular, that's the thing, those are living things are made of one cells, and multicellular. In this pretty picture, this is I believe an electron microscope. These are what cells look like underneath. Look how pretty that is. So next characteristics, cells display organization, living things. So everything in life has some type of order or organization towards it. So like it either starts We can look at it from things getting really small to really big, or getting from really big to really small. So let's just look at humans for examples. Humans, the smallest thing we have in our body is a cell. Technically it's atoms, so we're going to start with cells. And a bunch of cells put together make up tissues. A bunch of tissues, or specialized tissues, make up an organelle, make up an organelle. A bunch of specific organelles that work together make up organs that work in the system. And the organs work together in the system and is going to support an organism. So this is on this side we'll see, this is the smaller version. So we start with our cells, well, it's technically atoms that make cells, organelles. Sorry, this graph is kind of confusing. Oh, sorry. So we start with atoms, cells, organs. Sorry, I'm so sorry, guys. So we start with your molecules, which are atoms, and then goes into cells. Cells are composed of these organelles. A bunch of cells together make a tissue, a group of specialized tissues, organs, or a bunch of organs working together make an organ system, and this all composed into one organism. So now a bunch of organisms that live together make up a population. A bunch of populations in a particular area make a community. A bunch of communities together make an ecosystems. All the ecosystems are composed of the biosphere. So again, going from really small, this is going from really big and working its way to really small, so just follow the arrows. Guys, feel free to pause to take notes, or pause to really digest the pictures. Pictures will definitely help. I'm a big fan of pictures, and if anything's ever confusing, you can always email me text me via your your Remind, or you can email me. I'd be happy to answer any questions, do any clarifications. We do allocate class time for this too. So let's keep going. So this graph must be in your book. So this is just a chart for the display of organization. Again, we start with the atom, and then we'll go to molecules, cells, tissues, organs, organ systems, organelles. So between molecules and cells, or actually organelles, it's like molecules, organelles, then cells and tissue, but it's fine. We're going to get into organelles in the next few chapters. So the next characteristics, growth and development. So let's just think about it in terms of us. Think about how we were, I don't know, how old are you guys? Let's say you're 13. You don't look the same between now, from when you're a baby, to from then when you were a baby to now as a young adult. And that's the same thing for tadpoles, for trees. Trees start out these little tiny seeds and grow into these ginormous structures. And then what else? What would be another things? Like, okay, like let's say our desk. Our desk can't grow into a bigger desk. You can break down a desk and make it additional, but by itself, like left over time, it cannot grow. Your same thing with your cell phone. Your cell phone doesn't get bigger over time. The manufacturer can definitely make an updated model, but your cell phone isn't growing. There's actually one structure that's actually the same from the time that you're born to the time that you're an adult, and it's really funny. It's actually your ears. Your ears stay the same size from the time that you're born to the time that you grow up, and till you die, unfortunately. So my brother had really big ears as a kid, and we used to call him Dumbo, but he grew into them. So the next characteristic, reproduce. So we're going to talk about reproduction. We're talking about passing on of genetic information. So for us, our basic genetic information is DNA. So an organism must be able to pass on its DNA to its offspring. So when we get up to virus, we're actually going to talk about reproduction. So to think about, until then, like viruses, are they living or are they non-living? We're gonna actually play a game on Tuesday, and that's gonna be one of the questions. Actually, I'm probably giving away the hint. Hopefully I can edit this out. Oh well. So, reproduction. Again, a species has to be able to breed and reproduce. Some organisms reproduce asexually. That means it doesn't require another partner. It just either binary fission and splits in half, or buds off and splits in half. Basically, it doesn't need another partner. And then there's sexually, which we do. You need one gamete and another gamete. For us, it'll be a sperm and an egg. They come together and make a little baby. Same thing with other organisms. And actually, plants are really cool. They can actually do both. So the next thing is respond to stimuli. So anything that is part of an internal or external environment can cause, some sort of reaction by the organism is called a stimulus. The reaction to a stimulus is a response. So what does that mean? You're like, that's a lot of words. So in order for an organism to be able to live, it has to be able to respond to either its internal or external environment. So an example for us, when we're expanding to our external environment, so the environment around us. So when it's cold, and if it's cold and our body wasn't able to respond, our internal body work at a certain temperature, and I believe it was like 98 degrees Celsius or Fahrenheit. I don't remember the units, but I just remember 98 degrees. So if it's below 98 outside, if our body isn't able to react to that, our internal temperature starts to cool off, and our body can't function, and we die. So when it's cold outside, what do? We shiver. That's our response. So when we shiver, we're increasing the temperature on our skin because we're moving. It's causing the atoms in our body to move and move, generating heat. So now when it's hot outside, we sweat because it's too hot. Our internal body temperature is increasing. We don't want that either. We don't want it too cold. We don't want it too hot. We want it at that perfect temperature of 98. Give or take a few degrees. So we sweat. And then, so sweating is cooling off our body because it takes more energy. So heat is a form of energy. So it takes energy to evaporate the liquid on the surface of our body. And that's taking away heat from inside our body, cooling us off. So in class, I'm always schwitzy. And now in the summer, we're going to be schwitzy because it's hot. And then also plants do the same thing. So plants, when they need light, so it's like light combined with gravity, combined with trichomorphism. So we will talk about trichomorphism when we get to plants, I should say. So in terms of phototropism, it just means that plant is going to grow in the direction of light. Gravity has to work against gravity because it needs to grow towards the light. So that's its response to the internal environment. So this is what I mean in terms of like plants growing towards the light. People did some really cool experiments about it. So this plant is growing in this leftward direction because that's where the light source is. From the plant, it wants optimal source of light because that's where it gets its energy. And the same thing with this little plant. So, speaking of plants and energy, it is the driving force of all characteristics of life. Without energy, we cannot do anything. The main source of energy, and the only source of energy in this entire universe is the sun. And lucky for us, the Earth is placed optimally where we can, use the benefits of the sun. So the next slide should be requires energy. This is the one where we also put metabolism. So all living things, again, require energy. For us living things, we get our energy from food. We can absorb the energy from the sun and be like, that's it. If we don't eat, we get weak, we get tired, we get sleepy, and eventually we die after 3 days. for, depending on somebody's body fat, it may take a little bit more, because we cannot absorb energy from the sun. But plants, they're a little different. Plants are pretty cool. They can get their energy from, they can absorb the energy from the sun. When we get the photosynthesis, we're gonna go more into that. So this is why I also put metabolism, because we eat the food and we break down the food into usable energy. So this is why some text you will see metabolism. Here you're gonna see required energy, because plants, they're technically breaking down, but they're still getting it from the sun. So the main thing is the energy. So people think, oh, if it can't break down something, I can't survive. I was like, no. If you can't break it down into usable energy, you can't survive. Next characteristic, homeostasis. So all of this is all about maintaining homeostasis. So everything that we do is maintaining homeostasis, because there's an optimal temperature, pH, that organisms, including ourselves, work at. So we have to regulate our internal environment. So homeostasis can also be applied to, This is applied to respond to stimuli, but there's no really this. Yes, there is a stimuli in our body, but it works a little bit different. So when we go to the systems, we'll get more into that. So in terms of us maintaining homeostasis, so when an example of this would be fevers. So when our body has a lot of foreign things that it doesn't know in our T cells, which we'll get into. So there's these cool cells that like fight off bacteria and any foreign thing that might be bad for us that our body doesn't recognize. If there's too much, our body actually increases its temperature to kill it off. So that's why some people get fevers. That means that our body has too many things in it. There's not enough T cells to fight it off. So our body's going to increase the temperature, so that way whatever foreign things can't function, and our T cells can kill it off, and we can like make pathogens to protect it against it the next time it ever enters our body. This is why a lot of times if you go to the doctor and you have a fever, they sometimes ask, how long have you had this fever? Like, because you don't want to start lowering a fever too soon, because that means your body doesn't have enough time to fight it off. So, but then after a certain amount of time, it becomes excessive. Then your body just can't function at this consistent high temperature. So that they do recommend doing a cool ice bath. If you're an athlete and you've ever been in an ice bath, you know that is very unpleasant. It's really good for sore muscles, and like when you're really just exercising a lot and just a lot of toughness on your body. But doing an ice bath is rough. It's ice with wood, and it's so cold, and you're just basically cooling off your body temperature. Oops, I'm getting off topic, but let's go back to it. So all the things that we do is maintaining homeostasis. So when we respond to stimuli, we're maintaining homeostasis. When we're metabolizing food, we're maintaining homeostasis, because our body's telling us hungry, we need more energy. So we're hungry, we put more food in, and then we break it down to energy. Boom, we get the energy. Everything is about maintaining homeostasis. Okay, this is an example of homeostasis when we shiver. So adaptation. So it's adaptation / evolve over time. If we were not able to evolve over time, our species would not exist. So when we get to evolution, we're going to really go into adaptation and evolve. So adaptation and evolving also has to do with passing on the genetic information. So we know that we're not all the same, not in just terms of looks, but our genetic makeup. So we're not the same from our parents, we're not the same from our siblings. Even me as a twin, twins are the exception. Identical twins are the exception. They're genetically the same, aka why they're identical. But the cool thing is that, let's say certain genes will be passed on. So okay, how we were in the beginning of life, like with the big forehead, the caveman, the hunchback. Remember, we evolved from monkeys. So that had to do with passing on genetic information, things that allowed a certain species to survive. Like, so if you didn't have that genetic information or that certain characteristics that you got from your genetic information, and it wasn't conducive to survival, then so people who didn't have it died, and the people who survived would pass on that information, and that continued throughout history, and it still continues. And they just, anything that, not everything, but majority of things that get passed on, that like, it's like life is like, you survived, congratulations, you get to pass on your genetic information, and whatever gets passed on, like certain things are good, certain things are bad. So the majority, like, I can't say majority, but the good things get passed on because you didn't die and you like reproduce and have surviving children. It changes the genetic makeup of the overall population and just of the person. So again, if something's not able to evolve, then they die. And if you die, can't live. Boom. So this is a really cool, just a diagram of how things evolve from like life, and you can see how the species and organisms we have today, how they evolve throughout time. Let's see if we could find us. Here you go, humans. Here, this is our genetic tree. Here's a monkey. Here's another version of monkey. I don't know what that is. It's just how our current species survive. So some people, some I'm not gonna say they're mean, but people who are really into like survival of the fittest to like the definition, they're like, when species go extinct, like, oh well, they didn't survive, blah 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 blah. It's one thing. Here's my argument for that. It's one thing if it happens by, nature. Is one, and it's another thing if us as humans are going around killing animals and saying, survival of the fittest. That's two different things. We're not in the wild. They don't have the same advantage as we do. Okay, so I believe that is the end of the lecture. So remember, here, let's actually go to the site. I'm going to go on the living environment site. Let's close this. This is the chem. So you do Miss Pre-Petite Living. If you're in the Bio 101, then you're doing Bio 101. Sorry, that Weebly. Oopsies, I wrote that in wrong. Let's try this again. My computer is being so weird. Miss Pre-Petite Living. .weebly.com. Boom. Okay, this is the site. So, okay, the site is very similar to Bio. The first few lectures are the same for living and bio. So, okay, when we go on our site, this is our site. Woo, fancy. Right, we're going to go to our homework tab. And we're going to do ecology. Right now there's nothing there because I haven't posted. But let me actually go to the chem site because I think I can. So, for them they have chapter 1, section 1, or whatever. So this is what you're going to do. You're going to put your name. Put your first name. Then you put your last name. And then this is where you're going to type in your 2 questions. Boom, question number 2. Don't forget your question marks and good grammar. And then you just click submit. And then that's it. And then during class, I'm going to be checking. Let's go back to this. So this, again, it's going to be posted right near the video. This is the outline, then you're going to put your summary. So I'm going to check that your questions are in this section of your notebook. This is where your questions go, in this section of your notebook. And then your summary is going to go here. During class, I'm going to be grading that summary. Again, if you have any questions, go on Remind. If you are on my bio, the instructions are going to be on the site when the video is posted. And you can find the instructions under, I believe, course information. So when you get there, explore the site. If you're my Bio 101, there won't be much up. There'll be like just the basics so that you'll have this video. Guys, have a great weekend. I will see you when school starts again, or tomorrow, whenever this video goes up. I think it should be going up today on 9/11. Guys, remember to, if you know someone on 9/11, think about the victims that were affected today. And express your condolence if you know someone, and have a great day. So I'm going to end the lecture. How do I end the lecture? Where's my end key?